Hey, good evening, everybody. Mark Ruggiero here again. Nope, not a World at War video. That's coming. This is actually going to be a video about my favorite platoon level game. And it will be a teaching video. I think I'll be able to get through enough right tonight to where you could actually purchase this or Helfia Pass, um, and be able to play it out of the box. And this title, deathride Hafid Ridge, and then Helfia Pass are great introductions to the system. Some point I'll show you the scenario I have set up from Deathride Curse to my right before I sign off. But I wanted to share because I have a real passion for this system, and next year I'll be going to Consim World to play test Deathride Normandy. And this is from Grognard Simulations. It's designed by Chris Fizzulo, and his website is grognardsims.com or Grognard Simulations. You can Google it. Eventually, hopefully, I'll figure out how to post some links here on the videos. So let's get to it. This is obviously the box. Give me just a second here, guys. And I want to show you, let's talk a little bit about the scale. I'm going to show you the map and whatnot. So the scale of this game, this series, is everything's at, hexes are 330 meters to the hex. Counters are platoons and companies. Air units represent 4 airplanes, and the maps are historical. You can actually, what you're looking at in front of you right now is a little piece of my Deathride Kursk that I have set up, which is from Totenkampf, from the Deathride Kursk series. And I'll definitely give you a little shot of that before, but let me show you the Hafid Ridge map. Obviously, it's the desert, so it's not super exciting. But you basically have some hills and a bunch of clear terrain. So there's the Grognard Simulations. It has a nice emblem on the map. Like I said, my goal here is not an unboxing. I'm trying to show you. So now let's look at that's the map. Let's look at the counters. And I'm going to go over what the information on the counters are. There we go. So here's some Germans. Here's some British. You can see there's not a whole lot of counters, but these are platoons. So the information on the counters, as you'll notice up in the upper left, that's an air unit with a 2. What that basically does, you can use that to bombard, use it for ground strikes, you can add it to assaults, and a 2 basically means it gives you a +2 modifier on your die roll. The units themselves, let's just pick one. Let's pick let's look here at the 1st Platoon, C Company. And it looks like sorry guys, I don't have my reading glasses on, I should, but it's this unit right here. The top row of numbers is so it's secondary armament and then primary armament, and those are minus weapons. And it has a defensive 8. That's the top row. The bottom row is the range for the secondary weapons, and then the primary weapons. And of course, the bottom right tells you the movement. And because it's black, this is a leg infantry unit. On the far right there, you'll see that is a heavy weapons platoon. So that's machine guns, mortars, that kind of thing. You have anti-aircraft, which if you notice on the right here, and these are really more powerful than you think, and I'll show you why in a minute. These are your, where is it? The plus weapons. I believe these are the 88s. So deadly, 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 and I'll show you why. And then of course you have anti-tank units. If you're not familiar, this does not obviously use NATO symbology. And there again, these are platoons. So this unit here is the 1st Platoon, A Company, 1st Battalion, 5th Panzer Regiment. And up here is the HQ for the 5th Panzer. Now, in the basic rules, HQs don't do much, but there are command and control rules and whatnot. Over here, and I'll go over what these are a little bit, these are your suppression markers. And then you also have fortifications, overwatch, which only German vehicles can do. And then you have some improved positions and wire. How the forts and the improved positions work are, this is a die roll modifier, the number on the left for fire combat, and the number on the right is the die roll modifier for assault combat. The wire is any unit in a wire. If it was shot at, actually the shooter gets a +1 to the fire. It also stops movement. They can be removed by units that spend a turn adjacent doing nothing, or a vehicle that enters the hex. And you see minefields. Let me just say this, minefields can be deadly. These are the minefield units, and the same idea. If there's a unit you're shooting at and it's in a minefield hex, then it adds a +2 to the fire table. And it's also if you were to assault them. There's reserves, and I'll explain a little more. You have, so the British in this look like they get some pretty decent artillery, which is this. And I'm going to show you what these plus and minuses are. This is the range. Remember, secondary, primary. So you can see it has quite a range, and it's a company. Okay. So let's look at, I'm going to look at the rule book really quick, show you that. Now this is what I mean by the deathride system, and this is the rule book that comes with it, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but the whole rule book itself, including you get historical notes, optional rules, is about, let's see here, there's terrain effects. Oh, sorry. But unit symbols and the, that's about what the full rule book here, let me look, is approximately, with optional rules, is about 16 pages. So this is the rule book that comes in the game itself. It has everything that you need in there. It has artillery, you got command control rules, which by the way are optional. This has a simpler sequence of play than the Curse game, only in the sense that it's more of an introductory. So let me find it here, sorry. It's one of the things I guess I need to practice on, right? Let me show you this. What this shows you is the information on the counters. And I'm going to go ahead, the dot information tells you the target type, primary weapon data, what kind of movement, and also like it tells you that, what this unit is. The one thing that if there's no target type, it's soft, and that's what you saw in the infantry units. Let me show you why that's important in just a second. I want to show you the sequence of play and what's unique and one of the things I like about this game. So here's the sequence of play. I'm not meant to show you everything, but you can see that like some of the rules are optional. Command, supply, command control. But let me show you what I'm saying here. So if you look, air allocation, right? And in this game, it actually happens every turn, even though that says daily. Combat support phase. That's where you get your air support and things like that. If there's any reinforcements, replacements, I don't believe this game is long enough to get for that. It basically happens once a day. So there is some reference to stuff you won't use. Reorganization, intelligence, that's where you allocate patrols, which I'm not quite sure happens in this one. I haven't played this one. I've actually played Halfia Pass. That's the one I've played as my introductory, and now I'm playing Curse. But I wanted to show you what is unique about, really super unique about this, is the operations phase. You can basically do anything you want. It's 2.3.2 there. There's no like movement, then shoot. It's like you can shoot and move and shoot. Set stuff, drop artillery in, do airstrikes and whatnot. And this is the heart of the game. And this is where all your decisions are made. And I just really like it. Like it's in some ways a puzzle. Like, how do I want to do this? Because the other guy, while you're moving, is going to get to opportunity fire and whatnot. And I'll tell you, opportunity fire can be a lot of shots. There's a lot of modifiers. I'm going to show you the combat. So let's recap. So far, I've showed you the sequence of play. I showed you the map. I went over the scale. So what information's on the counter. So let me try and give you and then the sequence of play. So let me try to give you an idea. I'm going to show you some charts and what they are. And I'm actually going to do them in order. So let's just, for example, and I'm not going to go over an assault. That's, kind of something, but I am going to show you how to do a fire combat, and then I'll show you some other, towards the end, show you some other stuff. So the first thing you're going to do, if say you make the decision to shoot this tank unit right here, the 327, and you're within 4 hexes of, let's for argument's sake, say it's a soft target. You're firing at an infantry platoon. That's not in an improved position or anything like that. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the secondary factor, a 3, is in range, and so is the primary. And it's what's called a minus weapon. So you look in the little chart here. So you look at units with minus weapon. And you're going to go all the way over here to soft target. And you see soft target, you see primary, secondary. Okay, now let's be clear. Short range is anything within the secondary range. And let's remember, that's the bottom left number. Long range is anything over that. Okay, so as we said, we have 3 as a secondary weapon and 2 as a primary weapon. So 3, if you're short range, you see it long range. So if the target was 5 X's away, then this vehicle wouldn't happen. It's like nothing happens, but it has to be within short range. Times 1 and times 2. Times 1 is anything at range. Times 2 is adjacent. Let's pretend the target's adjacent. So you're going to take double. That's going to be 6 of the secondary, right? 2 times 3. And then you're going to take, you're shooting the primary weapon also, and that's times 1. So we have 6, 3 doubled, plus 2 is going to be 8 factors. This is your firepower table. This is how you differentiate different weapons types. You can look at the left here and see that. Okay? So like I said, we're shooting 8 factors at a soft target. And let's say it's shooting at the heavy weapons team there. And remember, the numbers on the top here are the same. Secondary, primary firepower, asterisk denotes that it's a heavy weapons team, and it has a defensive 8. That's on the top right, and it's right here. Okay? So we've determined we have 8 to 8. That's a 1-to-1 shot. Okay? So then what happens is you go to the fire table. And as you see, it's broken down into 1/4 to 1, 1/3 to 1, 1/2 to 1, 3/4 and 1. Okay? And this is definitely a die roll modifier game. So for the shot, you're going to have 8 to 8, which we know is 1-to-1, and you're going to go through the modifiers. And like we said, the target's adjacent, so that would be a +2. It's, you know, you can go through these, but this is how fire combat works. I'm not going to go through every modifier. Okay. Now what you're going to do is you're going to roll a dice, and it's 10-sided dice, and a 0 in this game is treated as a 10, and adjust it with the modifiers, and as you can see, you're going to get a result from nothing, and the S's are your suppressions. X is eliminated. If there was, say and by the way, when you shoot, you have choice. You can pick the unit you're shooting at in a hex, or you could shoot at the whole stack. So an X would actually eliminate the, if you were shooting at 1 unit, it would eliminate it. If you had 2 units, then it would be eliminated, and that's when I believe, oh my gosh, I should know this guy, sorry. I believe the attacker gets the pick. It could be the defender, but anyways. So what do suppressions do? Well, against hard targets, suppressions lower the firepower by 10%. Against soft targets, so your infantry and stuff, lower the strength by 20%. Okay, and that's for each suppression. The unit gets to 5 suppressions, it's eliminated. When you suppress a unit, they're color-coded. If I can get this to work here. So, oh, my bad. I'm sorry, guys. Let's see. Here, let's do this. Oh boy, that's really ugly, isn't it? There we go. It's placed on the red side. Okay. Now, when you get to in the sequence of play, there's a phase you get to. And also, I'm sorry, suppressions also, unless you're elite or armor, you can't move closer to enemy units. If you're under suppression, you also cannot opportunity fire. You can still defensive fire, which happens when a unit moves adjacent to you. But these also lower your strength and impact assault combat, and also actually raise your defense. So then in the prior example, a unit with a defense of 8, if it was to get a 2 suppression, it would defend at 10. It kind of represents the troops are, you know, hugging the ground and whatnot. So, all right. So what happens too, how these go away is, and like I said, I'm making this a teaching video, is after you do close assault, you do suppression recovery. So the phasing player, the first thing he does is any green, there's a green side, so if there's some that were green, the phasing player, if they're not adjacent to an enemy unit, gets to remove 2 suppressions. If they're adjacent, they can remove 1. Then after they've done the green ones, they can go back and flip to the green side. The non-phasing player can flip red to green, and that's it, but they can't remove any. Okay? But this is the main way you eliminate units. You degrade their ability to do, you know, to do things. So we're getting close to 20 minutes almost here, guys, and I really appreciate your time. I have a super passion for this series, and I think this is one of the easier ones to learn on. And I haven't covered everything, but I have covered a lot. Let me show you some other things really quick. What I love is, so as you can see, ground attack and anti-aircraft. Yes, the planes that you have, they can do a ground strike if you were to choose to do that. And for example, that strength 2 aircraft I showed you, you'd roll a dice. You'd add the support value of the aircraft, and depending on the terrain that the unit, whatever you're shooting at, they're trying to strafe or whatever, this is the result. Before that happens, though, you get to roll anti-aircraft fire at it. And it's pretty simple. It's a die roll modified as below, and you get a result, which is abort. You're not going to shoot all the planes down. But it kind of, you got to make sure you're paying attention to that. I'm going to show you this too. Minefields. Not only do they have the effect that I talked about earlier, they have an effect when they enter a minefield hex and they exit. And also, if you choose to play with the full rules, which I'm going to show you a little bit in just a second, any adjacent hex that is entered is affected at half rounded down. Okay? And mines can only be removed by engineers. So engineer units become super important if they're available in the game. Here's you can see for this game, the terrain effects chart is really simple. Okay? And I'll say this, Chris really supports his games. If you get questions, he'll answer them. So this shows each turn's 2 hours, represents 2 hours. The weather, of course, we're in the burning desert, right? And then the flags represent reinforcements. One thing I recommend is, I'll say when you buy this game, because I just think it's that awesome, that this is what you can actually go to Consim World, or let's see, it's on Consim World, and I believe it's on Board Game Geek, and you can download the master rules. Now it looks really massive, and I'm not going to go into it, but the rules I showed you before are in here. What deathride Kursk adds is there's a lot more notes, a lot more types of units and what they are. And let me tell you, this is what I really love. Look at that. It tells you what is in each platoon, right? If you want to geek out on your war game stuff, that's the ticket. Also color-coded for different levels. There's 4 different complexity levels you can play in here. But I highly recommend you download it. It's it's basically a way to you can look at the rules and see if the game's for you. I want to show you now. I promised, and we're in 22 minutes, and hopefully you're enjoying a nice drink, or cold drink, or bourbon, or coffee, whatever you do. I'm gonna show you, and I'm gonna have to move the camera, so hopefully it's not too bad. This is deathride Totenkopf that I have set up. My table's 4x8. Like I said, this is a big game. This is one of the smaller scenarios. And it's called Chasing Ghosts. Back here, which you were looking at before, you have the core assets, core HQ, maintenance, repair units that I'm not using. Different, like I said, a lot of different levels of complexity. And town, and you can see the Russian defensive line. You can see that I have a recon unit that's flanked the right. The German goal is to get that second river, that first river there, all within their secondary range to get a marginal victory. And see all those Russians? So yeah, it's going to be tough, especially there's no German infantry in this scenario, but it's a good introductory, and I shouldn't say none, there's some with the recon battalion. And you'll see the black marker line. I did a wet erase with that. That's the boundaries for this scenario. I'll give you a quick view here. That's the air chart. The units on the left aren't used in this scenario. There's the dead pile. Some have already started out dead, so you know that it's a scenario. But anyways, my goal was to show you how to feed Ridge, and I think I did that. And I really appreciate your time, and if you get through this whole video, I sincerely hope that you will consider purchasing this game. If it interests you to give it a try, a feed ridge is $50. Chris is incredibly responsive on Board Game Geek, on Consim World, email, Facebook, Grognard Sims. And I tell you, I really have a passion for this. Eventually, I'll do some Kursk videos. I really appreciate your feedback, and I'm sorry I'm using an iPhone. I'd flip it around so you could see my beautiful face, but not going to happen right now. So there again, you can download this rulebook, and it's not needed for a feed ridge, but it can give you a really good idea of what is involved. And then you get I showed you the scenario cards, but anyways, that's it. I hope you enjoy it. Please comment, leave me feedback. I'm learning as I go, and I hope that you enjoy this as much as I have doing this for you. And any questions, feel free to ask. I'll answer them. And I'm sure I missed something or screwed something up. But hey, that's what happens. Thanks. Have a great one.